Good, good. Are you ready for us?
I am. Since Dave Tobe was in here, I got to adjust the microphone, that big sucker that he is, right? All right. Can't really see everybody, but glad to have you all here. It's good to be doing this again. I mean, it feels like forever since we've got together and had a week of practice, but just got done with our second one and feel pretty good about it. So with that, I'll open it up.
We'll go first to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, Herbie. Great.
Hey, from Christian McCaffrey, Mike Davis to Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, you've had your share of facing off against two-headed running backs in this past season. What is it about this Sunday's matchup that makes it unique or even challenging when you look at Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt?
Yeah, a great question. Typically, you can say when you got two running backs that you're facing, you can say, okay, when 24's in there, here are some things that they run. You know, when 27's in there, they run their whole offense with both of them. That's where they're really effective. So you can't get a beat on that. We've got to defend the scheme. What makes it challenging, their run scheme to me, what makes it challenging is the fact that Baker Mayfield, you know, their misdirection runs are really him running boots and movement passes. And that's where our eyes got to be right. That's where we got to build the wall, track the hip, and set the edge, just like we talk about. But they present a problem, no question.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
We'll go next to Sam Mellinger. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Steve. I know a lot of people have talked about Tyrann and you know him being a good fit with what you do. Can you talk specifically about what it is about what you like to do with defense that made Tyrann a good fit? And I'm also curious if you've gone even beyond what you've done before to kind of highlight his talents.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it until you just said that, but I'd probably say yes, that we have gone a little bit more beyond, because there are some things that we do with him now that I don't recall us doing in prior places. So, and really that's because first and foremost is him from the chin to the hairline. You're talking about an intelligent football player that loves it. And you know that if you feed something to Tyrann, he's going to get it and he's going to know why. And in the game of football, I mean, we lay out all these plans and, you know, you go from Monday to Saturday and into Sunday, but things change so quick on game day. And the one thing about Tyrann is you can go over to him and say, let's tweak this or do that. And he knows exactly why, and he does it. He's great to have. The other guys, you know, a guy like that, we all focus on what he does, you know, the stats and gets the interceptions, tackles, the whole thing. But to me, one of the greatest things about having a guy like that is how he makes the other 10 better. And I truly believe that he does that with our unit because of the confidence that they have in him and the communication and plays he's going to make, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's go next to Therese Paylor. Go ahead, Therese.
Hey, Coach Spags, how you doing today?
Hey, Therese.
Hey, quick question for you, man. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world right now, and people across multiple industries are trying really hard to find common ground so they can accomplish big goals. The NFL locker room is actually a great example of that. So my question to you is, what have you as a leader, what has Andy and your captains done to maintain a positive and healthy locker room culture amid these trying times? And Brad, I have a quick follow-up to that.
Yeah, awesome question. And if I was to guess, when you talk about our leaders, Patrick and Tyrann and a bunch of other ones, it's just the level of respect that they show to all people. And it's visual acts of respect. It's not just talk with our guys. And our guys are close in a unit. And I think sometimes when all these things are going on around, and there's one thing I think that gets missed here, like coaches, we're in this building and we're kind of behind these walls. We don't even see the real world, but our guys have to leave here every day and they have to go out and be real people. And my guess is the guys that we're talking about, the leaders, have just projected and represented us really well. And I go back to character and respect. And I think we got a load of that on our team.
I understand. And I mean, you've been in the league a long time, just like Andy. Like in general, like you've been a part of some really good teams, some winners. So like, does in your experience, do politics come up at all in the locker room? And if they do, like, how do players kind of walk around that or deal with it? Or do they talk about it head on?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't spend a lot of time in the locker room, quite honest, and being truthful. Now, listen, in our meetings, you go back to when everything was kind of in flux, back when we were having our virtual meetings. We made it a point in our virtual meetings to talk about that pretty much every day for a pretty good period of time. I just wanted the guys to know that it meant something to us as coaches. You know, it wasn't just lost. It wasn't just talk. And then I think our players just kind of ran with that, which I thought was really, really good.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Steve, you talked a minute ago about Tyrann Mathieu and how he kind of makes the 10 guys around him better. How unusual or rare is that? You run across a number of guys over the years who you could say that about, do you feel like, or no?
Listen, they're few and far between. But there's a few guys against Antonio Pierce in New York, Brian Dawkins in Philadelphia, James Laurinaitis when I was in St. Louis. Our unit had a really good year the second year, but he was that kind of guy. It's the guy, even Anthony Hitchens is the same way with us here. It's the guys that can walk in each individual grouping, whether it's D-line, linebackers, DBs, and, you know, and they just kind of get along and people respond to them. Those are the kind of guys that you need as many of those guys as you can get. I think we have a few of those guys that can do that, can talk to all the groups, and they listen. People respect them.
Got time for a couple more guys. We'll go Nate and then Mick. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Steve, I have two questions for you. The first is a follow-up to Herbie's question about the running backs. They seem to be extremely effective as pass catchers as well. I just wonder what that dynamic does to you and how it may shift your personnel packages, because they tend to play more like, you know, some bigger wideouts than obviously a traditional running back.
Yeah, certainly Kareem, and the guys here, some guys that have been here when he was here obviously know that he's a threat. You can put him out and he's like a wideout defender. We have to be aware of that. Always got to know what 27 is. It'd be easy if, you know, you put a running back in there and you say he catches the ball all the time, and you put one in there and you say he runs it all the time. But you're dead on with both these guys. They can do extremely well at both of them, and they don't skip a beat. It's kind of what I was saying earlier, no matter which one they have in there. So I think that's a luxury for them. It's got to be something that we're aware of. You know, normally we'd be in practice and put a 24 and a 27 jersey on and say, okay, you got to know that when 27's in there, they got a chance of doing this. But, you know, quite frankly, this week, we got to defend the running back. Whichever running back is in there could run the football, catch it. And I think our guys have been in tune to that, and hopefully they'll show up in the game.
And you mentioned Anthony earlier. He was on the COVID list for a while away from you guys. Just how he tried to get back in line with what he was doing earlier this season. And obviously we know the idea of just how guys are trying to manage, you know, when they obviously encounter COVID and have to stay away. So just what has he been like since he's been back with you guys?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. It feels completely different. Like, first of all, Ben Neiman and Darius Harris did a great job. And I don't know if you guys caught it at all, but, you know, Colin Saunders played some linebacker for us in that last game. God bless him, man. He was out there. He looked like Levon Kirkland. We had Levon Kirkland in Philadelphia at the end of his career. He looked just like him. And he had some fun with it, and we needed him. I mean, we had all the guys getting banged up. But getting back to Anthony, you felt his presence in the bye week the minute we had those practices, and he was back with us. He just, listen, the guys gravitate to him in front of the huddle, the communication he makes on the line of scrimmage, the whole thing. Guys felt it. We feel it as coaches. We know we can do a little bit more when you have a guy like that. So we're sure glad we got him back.
Last one to Mick Schaefer. Go ahead, Mick.
Hey, Steve, last year, one of the playoff themes for you guys was obviously the slow starts, but I believe you gave up just 7 points in the fourth quarters of those 3 games. Do you feel like that was something that maybe got lost in the shuffle, and how big was that in you guys being able to do what you did?
Well, certainly in any playoff game, fourth quarter is huge. I mean, we know, you guys have all the stats, and we know that these playoff games come down to last possessions or one possession football games. We know that. So playing good defense in the fourth quarter is huge. Now, I will be honest with you, because my mind goes this way. We have not done a great job of that. Kind of down the stretch here. We did earlier in the year. So it's something that we need to rise up and take care of. We worked on it a little bit in the bye week as much as you can. But listen, I certainly hope that we can play our best football in the fourth quarter. Let's say that.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, you got it.